Hello, I'm Jonathan Mason.
And I am Sonia Madison.
Welcome to Law Unfiltered, where we discuss current events and the legal implication of those events. And Sonia, we're in the final days of the presidential campaign, and
Yes, elections are almost here.
we are. And we did, was it an October or November surprise that we
Oh,
just
yes,
had?
yes.
Most recently, there have been a number of developments in the final weeks. The Trump tape with Billy Bush and the Clinton email situation doesn't appear to be going anywhere, and we just recently had another.
Well, we thought it was gone because he announced, or at least the FBI chief announced back in July, that he was closing the investigation, didn't find anything that would result in charges against her. And that was supposed to be done. Yeah, it kept coming up because, it's election period and we're just going to keep talking about whether it shows some trustworthiness. But no one was really still looking into whether or not she did something wrong, or at least warranting criminal charges.
Right. And so suddenly out of nowhere comes this announcement that
Right, 11 days before November 8th, here comes the chief.
and why has that been perceived as such a problem?
Well, I think, first of all, it starts with the fact that there is a history of animosity between this FBI chief officer and Clinton, and it's dating all the way back to when he pardoned Mark Rich, and he being Bill Clinton during his presidency. The day before he was leaving office, he pardoned Mark Rich, who was a hedge hunter who was pretty much being charged with wiretapping, racketeering, and some other white-collar crimes. He escaped, or not escaped, but he fled to Switzerland. And so he obviously wasn't going to come back knowing he had these charges against him. So the day before Bill Clinton leaves office, he pardons him, and the guy's able to come back. Well, I want to say around 2003, it was uncovered that the ex-wife was a huge donator of the library that Clinton has. And so the FBI, this chief, comes in and says, hey, this is suspect. Why would you pardon this guy unless there is some kind of pay-for-play situation going on? And that's what all this is about. But that got closed. And so then we moved on to the Clinton Foundation. And again, another pay-for-play incident. And they're pretty much, the FBI is looking into, I think this happened around 2015. Someone wrote a book. And in the book, they suggested that a lot of foreign entities are donating money to this foundation in hopes of having some kind of favors in the government as Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State. So the book is published. FBI is like, okay, back opening up, we're going to investigate it. And then that later, I think that's still ongoing. There hasn't been a ruling on that, but it hasn't also continuously come up in terms of, we really are still looking into some foul action. And Hillary Clinton has been adamant that I don't really do much with their foundation. I'm really not associated with it. And so then that kind of drifts away. And then the emails come up. And then, as we all know with the emails, once she had this private server, then we've got the question of whether or not she was putting classified information on the server, and then that's against the policy and whatnot. So then that eventually goes away. And so now here we are again, and now we're saying, at least the same FBI is saying, well, now I want to see perhaps there was some misclassification. We're reopening that, and I don't quite get the connection because, and I'm sure you can speak on this as well, but if this was open because Anthony Weiner is being looked into or investigated about sexual explicit text messages he may have sent to an underage person, well, one, why are you looking at emails? We need to be looking at the text messages, right, even at the issue. But then two, how does that come into the use of classified information by Hillary Clinton? I'm kind of curious as to that time. I think as the American people, that's why we're frustrated, because we're essentially saying it doesn't make sense that the two are related. But if they are, you're not giving us any information other than the history of advice against these two people. And so that's probably the source of a lot of contention.
So basically, it being most problematic because it potentially politically motivated,
right?
And have an influence on the election. And then there's a lot of talk about even the announcement that they're reopening the investigation was against federal policy in and of itself, right, for them to even announce it. So how did they justify making that announcement?
So, and that was kind of interesting. The chief officer called me. He's saying, well, the reason why I did it was because there was some I guess, discrepancy or some kind of tension as to whether or not there was some kind of proprietary or discredit of the investigation with the fact that Bill Clinton met with the Justice Department, Loretta Lynch, and he felt like, well, if I didn't go through the Justice Department, or if I went through the Justice Department first, they wouldn't take it seriously because there's already a buddy-buddy relationship. So that's why I'm putting it out to the people. I feel like the people have the right to know, and it's not going to be something that's thrown under the rug through the Justice Department.
Okay.
But I still don't think that warrants. I mean, I'm not saying anything because I'm pro Clinton, because I'm not one or the other in terms of the election is concerned. But historically, I don't see a lot of times FBI announcing investigations unless it's already like a Trayvon Martin or just those types of instances. And even then, it's the Justice Department more so than it's the FBI. But I feel like for the most part, they keep it under wraps when they're doing these investigations. For them, 11 days close to election time, to come out and make this announcement. I mean, you can investigate without making a public announcement. Wait until you have something, and then say, hey, we've been investigating this, and this kind of came up, and so this is why this is an issue, or this is why she may be indicted, or whatever comes from that investigation.
Especially when the connection, from what people can tell, seems to be pretty tenuous between
Right.
the Weiner emails and Clinton server, or at least come out and tell, if you're going to make that announcement, to be vague about it
Right.
has a very negative effect, or at least in people's mind, that, well, what is it? And so it just leaves this uncertainty that's probably not fair so close to
Right.
presidential election.
Right. And I mean, I think anyone who is being investigated, before people make their judgments, they would want them not to come out publicly. Like, it's kind of like the innocent until proven guilty. And you want to maintain that innocence unless there's a reason for guilt. And at that point, you want the information out on the table so people can make their assessment. Not, let me just put out this may or may not improprietary relationship or criminal activity gone on. We don't know, but we're just letting you know that it may or may not have happened. Well, that's not fair. You're convicting someone before you have any information.
Right, and you are, and so it's one thing if there was information released and it was very negative, or shed a negative light, or showed some kind of illegal or immoral or unethical conduct by Secretary Clinton, but those are the type of conclusions that people will draw just from the fact
Right.
that there's an investigation, even though it could be totally nothing. So,
Right. And to be honest, I feel like people have already drawn conclusions about their trust factor with her anyways. And so I'm not even sure this makes too much of a difference in terms of what the outcome will be come next week. But I just feel like it makes the FBI look bad. To me, more so than it makes Clinton look bad. Clinton, I feel like, has already looked bad in this light, or people didn't trust her, this isn't going to sway them, or people trusted her, I don't feel like this is going to sway them one way or the other. Because again, there's no information. We already knew she was using a private server. It wasn't substantiated that she was using classified information on the server, and it's still not substantiated that she was using classified information on the server, so that hasn't changed. But it just makes the FBI look bad. It makes them look like they are taking a position politically.
yeah, but it's just a sort of a accumulation of incidents.
Yeah.
That, because we also had the head of the DNC being released from CNN because of her relationship with the Clinton campaign, and up to going as far as providing debate questions to the Clinton campaign, based on her position,
Right.
getting access to those based on her position at CNN.
And that was for the Democratic primaries. And, there was the fact that subsequent to that, the DNC person had to step down because, there was tends to be a bias, or that showed that there was bias in those emails that she favored Clinton. So already from the top, people felt like, okay, you didn't give Bernie Sanders a fair chance. And here's more information to show that he wasn't given a fair chance during those primary elections.
No, exactly. So it's just, I don't know. It seems like all these little things just
Right.
are chipping away at her. And again, I mean, the media can be perceived to be on one side or the other, but it just seems to me like the things that people are nitpicking her about sort of pale in comparison to the allegations and
For Trump?
against the other candidate. I mean, they're like night and day in terms of the level of conduct, and it just seems to me like it doesn't stick. It doesn't stick on the other side, but just Secretary Clinton just can't shake the email, for example.
Yeah.
It's just like, and I know that the other candidate keeps pounding her with that, and talking about that, making it a big issue during the debates. But I don't know, just one thing I do like that she's done is her ads. I think her ads have been great.
I remember one where they have a couple has a disabled child. I don't know if you've seen that one. And they talk about how great the child is, and then they see Donald Trump mocking someone with a disability.
Right, yeah.
And how they said they couldn't vote for him because of that.
Right, I mean, the one I just saw most recently, they just had a bunch of quotes from him with all the negative things he said about different groups of people. And then there was one with the Khan family. Is that the family whose son was killed? The Muslim family.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, they had a very powerful ad with him.
Tell me, I don't think I've seen too many Trump ads though, and I don't know it's because we've also seen in recent weeks some of his Republican supporters have been backing away from him, as well as just other supporters and contributors in general. So I don't know if that's just affected how much money he's been able to pour into ads, but I haven't really seen a lot.
I've seen a few, and the theme is pretty much the same. It's just like you can't trust her, and similar in terms of trying to use her words against her.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It hasn't, in terms of volume, it hasn't measured up to what the Clinton campaign has been doing.
But I think it's no dispute that I don't know if anyone's who's really excited about this election. And to me, the most that I tell people is, well, if you don't vote, it can get worse, because your candidates are only going to be who they feel like people want or support it. So you have these two candidates that people feel like this is what the world wants. If you don't vote, then they're going to continuously think this is what the world wants,
right.
And it'll just get worse. But I don't know of anyone that's gung-ho about either candidate, to be honest. And It's like you said, I mean, what Trump has done in terms of suggesting he could grow up a woman just by virtue of being a celebrity, and then you had the numerous of women that came out and accused him. But on the flip side, I mean, while Bill Clinton's not on the ticket, I mean, it didn't look great that he's had similar, incidents, as well as it's making it seem like Hillary is content or she's passive in that way. And so I can see how people would compare one to the other, but I also see generally no one is gung-ho or excited about either candidate. It's just kind of, let's just get through this and see where we can go from there. But I know I would not be, if I was her, I'm not going to look forward to being in this position if I have federal agencies that are still trying to investigate me, or just still, I guess, just for lack of a better word, completely distrustful of your leadership.
Yeah, and I think perhaps the most important issue in this election will be whether Democrats can regain the Senate, because, I mean, if they don't, even if Clinton wins, where are we going to be on a Supreme Court nominee when she gets around to nominating someone? I mean, it's just, if the Republicans maintain both the House and the Senate, it's just going to be more of the same, it seems. So
and
that may
will just continue to get worse. And
exactly. I mean, so we maybe that's the fight that we really need to take to the streets, because people always are aware of the presidential election and the importance of that, but I don't know if they're as aware of the importance of the congressional races. Right. But it's so vitally important,
as well as local elections.
No, you're right. I mean, because we've seen over this last little era of President Clinton, when the Republicans, well, not just last, it's been a significant since the midterm elections, when they had both houses, the gridlock that it leads to, and the deal making, which sometimes, I mean, it's been unfortunate deal making. It's like, you've got to, if you want to get this federal budget passed, you've got to slip this in. And so,
Right.
I mean, it's just,
Especially for, I can understand negotiation if we're talking about a bill.
right.
I can understand, okay, we'll tighten up gun laws if you, loosen the grip on how you apply like unions or something. I can get that. But a budget, I mean, that's something you're required
Right.
to do.
Right.
Let's not, put grips on things that is part of your job
Right.
description as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Well, I guess by this time next week,
We'll know.
we'll know who the next president will be. Well, we may know. It could be
Right.
like 2000.
Or, but Trump's continuously saying, I will fight, and say it's rigged, and
Hopefully,
long.
come Wednesday morning, we'll know. And there will be a concession by the other side.
Yes,
whoever
well,
that is.
that's the most important part, because we don't want to know, and then riots from California to New York to,
Right.
to Dallas are breaking out.
Exactly. So,
But we'll see.
all right. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll see you next time on Law Unfiltered.